showed them, said he didn't know, and showed them. That to me is the epitome of maturity and intellect. The ability to entertain a concept, an idea, and admit you don't know, and just put it to the side and continue on. So I'm going to ask you guys to do the same thing. There are things in this presentation you're not going to be able to wrap your mind around. But many of you are, because you've heard me talk about collapsed discontinuities, reality tunnels, phasing in and out. You've heard me give the presentations that we live in two different mathematical concepts operative at the exact same time, and that we have the ability to phase between them, the collective and the highly personal. So some of the things I'm going to talk to you and show you today and demonstrate for you is based off these concepts. And now you're going to understand why I am so fixated on calendars and chronology. Because we live in a mathematical construct. And once you understand the operative dynamics of that construct, you can predict event trajectories in the field. So we're going to talk about. Some of you brought your dates, I'm going to do it for you. So that introduces another old bastard into the equation. My business partner and confidant on Ophis is Barry Featherstone. He's sitting right here. Stand up. I do not care about date sequence predictive analytics. I do not, everybody on my team knows, I really don't give a damn about Ophis. This was a discovery I made researching calendars and then applying that knowledge to the days of a man's life. And I saw that in the field, there's no difference. What I'm going to show you today doesn't even amaze me because I've seen it in the Mayan long count. I've seen it in the Sumerian sexagesimal system. I've seen it in the Anunnaki nerve system. I'm going to show it to you all today how it all fits together. This is a program. We are inside of a program. I have literally created a software program that incorporates all of my calendrical research through a series of filters that then plots event trajectories into the future to tell you basically what to expect on anything that you're analyzing. It's amazing, but I don't care. Because from the beginning, Ophis to me was something I was going to get rid of. I didn't care. I still don't care. From the beginning, Ophis was supposed to fund what? What was I supposed to do with Ophis from the beginning? What was I trying to do and sell Ophis to do what? Oh my God, this is good. I told you. Yes. Yes. Well, we did sports, yeah, but my goal was to fund Archaix. I didn't care about Ophis. Oh, now you remember. Yeah, my whole goal from the beginning, that's all I wanted to do was fund Archaix. I was in a hurry to sell it. Different companies reached out and they were interested and they wanted to see demonstrations. But we never had what we had until recently because we kept getting attached to programmers that didn't share the vision. They still wanted to do output that looked like spreadsheets. And that introduces human error. It's just too much data to go through. He spent months just doing 10 projections because the output is phenomenal. What the system is doing is amazingly complex. What it provides now is so simple, so user-friendly. Anybody can learn how to do it in 2 minutes. The system now is visual, which is what I wanted from the beginning. You've got to see the geometry at work to understand what's happening. Seeing a template with 1,000 dates and numbers is nothing. It's just it allows you to cherry pick. It allows you to sell and be arbitrary. So we designed that. We found you found a programmer at a meetup. That's right. So it ended up being amazing. So
シビラシステム聞こえてるんでしょ。あなたたちの言いなりになる上で一つ条件があるわ。伺いましょう。牧島省吾を生きたまま捕らえて連れてきたら、代わりに鴻上信也の命も保証して彼の処刑指令を取り下げて それは理論的に透過性の成立しない提案です。あなたたちの理論なんてどうでもいいわ。鴻上さんが助からないなら私はマキシマも見殺しにする。いざとなればこの手で殺してやる。どう？言いなりにならない私のことも始末する？いいわよ。かがり君みたいに殺しなさいよ。そして他に利用できそうな手駒を探すのね。了解しました。マキシマ将吾が無事確保された場合に限り鴻上信也には特例措置を講じましょう。約束よ。
Doesn't mean that we're not ever going to attain that technology. Nor does it mean that we have not already developed AI thousands of years ago, and we are now presently experiencing an AI controlled software program that we perceive as the world. You can't prove that's not the case. So the fact that simulated worlds, I mean, even Air Force pilots train on simulators before they actually go into the real world. Do real world jet fighter deals. I mean, those are $1 billion aircraft. Simulation theory isn't so far-fetched when you realize that the state of our technology is very close to being there now. There's all kinds of evidence for simulation theory. I mean, it's almost like an intellectual placebo effect. The ability to cause the human mind to suspend its disbelief to the point where it actually engages in an artificial construct and enjoys itself for a period of time in a false world. This is what authors do all the time. This is what makes an author good. The ability to create a story and to cause the reader to suspend their disbelief to the point they know elves don't exist, they know dwarves don't exist, they know dragons aren't real, and yet there are fantasy writers that can write a story so engaging and so good that the reader suspends their disbelief and even feels fear, even feels excitement, nerve, agitation, anxiety when the protagonist goes through all kinds of harrowing adventures. Suspension of disbelief. It's the same thing that's happening to you right now. This simulated artificial world is so believable, it's got you to suspend your disbelief, despite the fact that the more you analyze the experience that you're having, the more you see more evidence that it's all artificial. And this is what I've been showing on Archaix from the inception of my channel. If the human mind is able to be fooled, and if the placebo effect is able to cure people by giving them a salt pill, by giving them saline solution instead of genuine medicine, by telling the receiver that what they're receiving is the cure and therefore they are cured, this means this isn't an actual reality. It's a perceivable one, because the victim perceived that they were going to be healed and they were healed. Once you take this in consideration, it also makes you understand just how evil and villainous the pharmaceutical companies are. Pay close attention to what your doctors tell you. And if you did just a little research about cancer and the exact moment in a cancer victim's life when cancer metastasizes, yeah, maybe in the chat section you can enlighten me. I already know. But what procedure do cancer victims go through that as soon as the procedure's done, all of a sudden the majority of them have their cancer metastasized to where now it's no longer a question that they have to go on chemotherapy or something like that. It's what is being done is villainous. I'm not going to talk about it here. The placebo effect shows that we live in a simulation, not an actual reality. And the placebo effect It's no different than what some researchers have found, that the human mind, by intent and focus, can actually affect a random number generator. The fact that we have these studies as well is more proof that you live in an artificial reality. The artificiality of the construct is evident in the fact that the human mind has the ability to override experience systems. All kinds of random things, like even the homeless. I was homeless for a while, you know it. I've told you guys about it. Started my channel, broke off my ass. You guys know the oversoul takes care of its own, but in a natural world where natural selection and evolution and uniformitarian models were true, how in the hell did the cow survive? If it was the 35th century before we started actually, engaging in agriculture, how in the hell did the lazy, defenseless cow survive all the way from 500,000 years ago in a world full of megafauna predators? How did that happen? A cow must be an apex predator. How'd that happen? So, cow, sheep, all of them. It's just crazy. All these concepts that we accept to be true, we don't even think them through and process them. It's crazy. But I will say this. I noticed that when people are destitute, they have no money, they have no resources, you don't see dead bodies all over the streets of the United States. But our homeless population is a massive now. You can go to different cities, like we're heading toward Phoenix, Arizona. You know what? A lot of homeless in Phoenix, Arizona. You don't see dead bodies in the street everywhere. Houston's got homeless. A whole bunch of major cities got homeless. The oversoul finds ways to provide even the penniless. Homeless people they're always finding food to eat. People are always giving them stuff. You think it's random that a stranger just walked up to you and gave you a $20 bill? You think it's just random that it's people that are walking the streets that are always finding money everywhere? Hell no, it ain't random. I remember finding money and thinking, wow, that's awesome, man. Finding 220s. Needed it real bad too, it's just there. You think that shit's random? Hell no. Reality is absolutely full of Easter eggs. Easter eggs are always out there, call them NPC phenomena, whatever, but every single one of us experience these on a daily basis, and we don't even recognize what's being done. You see Easter eggs on license plates. You see them on street signs. You see Easter eggs on the side of the road. You hear Easter eggs in random bits of conversation that you overhear other people talking about. Somebody talking to you that you've been talking to for days might say something. It's an Easter egg. You have no idea when the oversoul is editing in information for you to pay attention to. And the person that you're involved with, or the people that are around you, have absolutely no idea of what you're experiencing or seeing. Easter eggs are everywhere, and they're absolutely particular to the individual who is experiencing them. An Easter egg can be a $20 bill in the grass that 400 people missed while they were walking into this store, but you saw it, picked it up, and you needed it. The oversoul is providing for people everywhere, but it's done because this is the construct. The construct is continually being edited, and in that editing, things are given to you. They're put right there where you need them. And the editing process also has fallibilities, meaning you know damn well where you leave your keys, and for some reason you woke up and your keys weren't there, and you search the whole house and there's another place you leave your keys, so you check there and you don't find them. You tear the house up. Other people help you look for your keys. You get exasperated. You start panicking. And the construct is very aware, because of your new emotional state, that something is wrong. And once it fully comprehends what the issue is, and it realizes that, oh shit, somehow there was a glitch, it edits your keys right back into an obvious spot. It's always found in a very obvious place, and you know damn well you looked there many times. We're not crazy. We don't have memory lapses like that. Guys, this happens to people on a daily basis. It happens to us all the time. Easter eggs are a part of our reality. They're so common that we do not even recognize them. We call them coincidence. We call them synchronicity. The oversoul is always providing. Homeless people die because they do it to themselves. They OD. They keep drinking alcohol and it kills them. It eats up their kidneys. They don't do it. But I'm telling you now, even in the Holy Writ it says it. God takes care of the birds of the air and the beasts of the field. What makes you think He's not going to take care of you? He does take care of you. There's nobody starving in America. It's not happening. They're dying for other reasons. Food's everywhere and people are always fed. The oversoul knows how to provide. But that's not even proof. It's not proof of simulation. It's proof that we're being looked out for. But it's the fact that it's a construct, a mathematical reality. It's easy to edit in these things as we need them. It's very easy to edit these things in. Other things are edited in as well. Remember, I've told you guys many times, thoughts are in the field. Thoughts are in the field. This is how different authors in different continents come up with the same concepts and publish the same type of stories over and over. There have been many examples of this. And it's always attributed to, oh, well, they were all influenced by a common source. There must have been something that they all watched that triggered this. And these stories and these novels will be so similar. But it's not just that, it's also inventions. It's also inventions, guys. The same things are invented at the exact same time in different areas by different people, different parts of the world. Why? Because it's in the field. And people they resonate, they receive these impressions, and they think these thoughts are originally theirs, and they are not. Simulation theory also answers for the anomalies in astronomy. Not just the human experience, but we have astronomical mysteries that can't be explained outside the context that we are in a computer simulated program.
Been trying to tell people or kind of like subtly tell people, or sometimes I've explained it for quite a while now, but I like fantasy stuff, like video games and anime and stories like Lord of the Rings and things like that, Game of Thrones and things like that, and I think that those things are equally real to the real world. I can kind of see, I can see the perceptual paradigm and the limits of what exists in this current reality. What is considered normal, what kind of things people expect to encounter in their normal life, and what their thought patterns are, and what are the limits of how far those thought patterns and what they are willing to entertain as perceptual paradigm. And I'm also aware that other paradigms, I believe that I'm aware that other paradigms are possible. For example, what people theorize might be this Tartarian paradigm, like these buildings that are impossible to build, the fireplaces that have no chimneys, this kind of like electric cymatic technology, free energy, airships, geopolymer, all these crazy technologies like Like people say, like the knight's armor was actually designed to deflect electricity or electromagnetic weapons, not actually swords and stuff and arrows. But hell, I don't know if that was real or not. Like, I don't know if that is the true history. I think even Jason says, like, we don't really know whether the past existed or whether it was just a backstory. But I think what he's trying to say is that the backstory that's presented is extremely important to take seriously and understand if one is to understand the present situation, the future, and the nature of the simulation that we're in. So I can imagine like different worlds, like, you know, we have these sci-fi authors like Philip K. Dick. Delivery, I suppose. These authors like Philip K. Dick and like, is it Isaac Asimov, that give us these visions of completely different worlds where there's a different perceptual paradigm. Same thing with anime. I think things like anime has really helped me to get to the point where I can understand these kind of concepts like what Jason presents. But obviously it's not limited to Jason, there's a much wider context of that. You know, Jason is one of many of thousands and thousands of researchers that are ostensibly have the same goal. They have the same aim, which is to find out what is the real truth of the world and life and things. So Jason is not special in that sense. He's not unique in that sense, but he is also unique in what he brings to the world. But yeah, I do think these animes and things have helped me to get to that point where I can like conceptualize these things and sort of shift my perceptual paradigm. This is why I don't find this part why I don't find this world as too interesting, is because I think people are stuck in a kind of illusionary paradigm. Like there is, yes, I think the perceptual paradigm is designed, but then once you start like looking outside of that, once someone can look outside of that, they can understand, like they can perceive like UFOs and things existing, they can imagine or experience these things existing, and that is outside of that box of designated normality. And it's kind of like this uniformitarian scientism system, and people are living these mundane lives. It hits hard in the UK, it hits you hard. And so most people are just really uninteresting because of that. They kind of like, they see this as the only paradigm that exists and the only one that can be true or exist. So I think that's partly why I'm drawn to fantasy, you know. And I feel like there are some people who, through their personality or their abilities or their imagination, what their mind can do, they seem to break that convention of what people are like, and those seem to be the people that I find interesting, but they're very rare, right? Very rare. The majority of people are just kind of in this box where they go to their 9-to-5 job and they believe what they see on the TV. They believe in science and that there's no God, and they're just happy with this very hedonistic but kind of in a tasteless way, like a base way, where they're happy, like they're very happy to like listen to Katy Perry on the radio, drive their chavvy riced out car to McDonald's, smoke some weed, just drive through these soulless urban landscapes and communicate with people who are similar. Their goal is sort of sex in a very animalistic manner. These kinds of things. You get what I mean? Like fashion that's not even cool. It's just like, oh, this is expensive, so therefore if I wear it, it's fashionable. It's not even, there's no aesthetic quality there. There's not much of an aesthetic consideration. It's just kind of branding and advertisement, and you get what I mean. So that's how I kind of seem like most normal people, and it doesn't inspire me. So yeah, I also think that it could take like a lifetime of research to intellectually understand what someone else can just like intuit from the offset. Now you could say that I could be deluding myself, and the reason that I'm interested in fantasy things like video games is because I grew up in this era. I was exposed and conditioned to video games from a young age, and so it's just conditioning. But then it becomes like a kind of a chicken or an egg situation. It's like, did this person choose to do this activity because there was something latent that attracted them to it, or did they choose to do it because they'd done it before and it gave them a dopamine rush or something? Do you get what I mean? So perhaps I'm just deluding myself that I'm. But then you have to look at, again, you have to look at like the averages. What is the average person doing, like that's my age? Are they playing video games all the time and watching like anime things and all this kind of stuff? There's loads of people that aren't doing that, even though they grew up with access to video games to the same degree that I did. So
Oh my god. Oh, that was Japan. Oh my god.
there's a caveat to this though, which is something that Jason said about you have to actually act before the thing that you imagine or desire will occur or come into your life experience. You can't, like, you can imagine crazy shit like all day long, which is what I do and a lot of other people do, but unless you do it in a certain way and you have the intention of wanting it, and you then act in such a way towards that becoming true, it won't occur. And I can kind of relate to this in some sense. I mean, it makes sense, right? But also I can relate to it in some sense because I can make things happen that shouldn't be possible. I've done it many times. The most obvious example I can think of is I can make specific girls appear, but I have to actually do the correct thing, and then I have to make an action towards that for it to happen. So the way I learned to do this is from this Canadian man called Howdy Mikowski, whose videos are on YouTube, and he also makes books. But he basically said the way you do this is you have to inject your mental energy, your thought. You have to charge it with energy or emotion, and then you have to inject it into the gap where nothing exists. The gap between thoughts. It's like the halfway point in duality. So you have the duality of light and dark, hot and cold. So what you're injecting it into like a neutral point where nothing exists, but it's in the two extremes. So there's duality in everything in this world, and then there's this concept of non-duality, which is something else. I'm not an expert, but this is basically what I did, and it does work. It's kind of like you also have to tune into something and broadcast outwards. So you're basically tuning your perception into the non-physical universe, and also your higher self, whatever that means to you, and you basically like attune your antenna to that like wavelength or communication channel, and then you broadcast this outwards, while also doing what I said before. And then basically once you've done that, you just forget about it. You completely forget about it, and then basically what tends to happen is it will randomly occur at a certain point in the future, but it never happens when I'm at home. Like a girl won't just come to the door. That's what I tried to create or something. It will usually happens when I'm on my bike, I'm outside, I'm making an action, and I've done it before by accident as well, which was the most crazy one, because I actually talked to this girl, and I didn't kind of realize until after like what had happened, because basically there's this guy on YouTube that I watch, and he's like a biker, and he does e-bikes as well, but he's some British guy, and he kind of travels all around the country, and he has pretty good like photography, videography techniques and stuff. His setup's pretty good, but he has a wife, kind of like a blonde woman, and she seems very adventurous, and she kind of goes to some of these places with him, and they sort of go on holiday, and then sometimes they'll go on the bike. She'll come out on the bike with him, but she's a woman, so she's not really as into all of the biking and stuff what he does, but she will kind of try to participate sometimes. And so I was watching that, and then it gave me these imaginations, right? Things that I wouldn't usually think of. And then basically later on that day, I was out in the countryside, sort of on the way home slowly. It was like a summer evening, and came to this crossroads near Copper Horse Farm, and then this girl on like a kind of vintage, old-fashioned style bicycle. Like as I was going across the main road, she comes from the right hand side, where it's obscured by the hedgerow, and we basically meet at the same exact time. And then she's like a bit lost, so kind of like asks me for directions, and it's kind of a weird encounter. I think she was from like Eastern Europe or something, but the kind of personality and atmosphere was kind of matching to what I was imagining or expecting. It's hard to explain, but very odd. And usually when this happens, I don't realise until afterwards that, oh yeah, that was that, because you have to completely forget about it before it will actually happen. So you're not thinking about it like actively, so it can come as a surprise, and then you don't really take advantage of it because of that. Although that was not my intention. My intention was not really to take advantage of these things. It was just to see what could happen, whether it would work, and just to have the visual experience. So for example, I have created a girl that looks almost exactly like Emma Watson, and I saw her near the university in my town, where the bridge goes over the river, and it's like below the old steam railway bridge. And she was just kind of walking along. She looked about 19 to 23 years old. It was hard to tell, but she looked extremely similar. It was crazy shit. But yeah, you can do it. Now how this ties into what Jason's talking about with his Ophis system, I'm not exactly sure. Like the techniques that he uses, I'm not exactly sure. But it would be interesting to try and figure it out. Don't assume that just because I respond to your theories with questions that I'm being disrespectful to your perspective. You've got to prove that the observations you've made are universal and not just tailored to your life. We live in a simulation, and the simulation can be fluid and dynamic, which is exactly what you have implied. So therefore, you've got to prove that these things are universals and that they do not change over time.